My name is Marisa, and at 34, I had built a successful career in finance, while always feeling second best to my sister Lana in my parents' eyes. When they canceled my birthday dinner for her impromptu gathering, something finally broke inside me. I used my savings to buy myself the perfect country house as a gift. When I posted photos online captioned, "The best gift for myself," my parents called immediately with a shocking demand. "You need to give this house to Lana." Before I continue my story, let me know where you are watching from. Hit that like button and subscribe to join me on this journey of standing up for myself against family expectations. I grew up in suburban Boston, in what most would consider a comfortable middle-class family. My parents both worked professional jobs, my father as an accountant, and my mother as a school administrator. We never struggled financially, which made the disparity in how they treated me versus my sister Lana, who is 3 years younger, all the more obvious and painful. The signs were there from early childhood. Despite our family having plenty of money, Lana always received new clothes while I got hand-me-downs. This wasn't about saving money, it was about priorities. My mother would spend hours shopping with Lana, helping her pick out the perfect outfits, while telling me that my clothes from last season were still perfectly fine. School events highlighted the pattern even more clearly. When I had my first piano recital in 4th grade, neither parent attended because Lana had a minor cold. Not the flu, not anything serious, just sniffles. When I won the science fair in 7th grade, my father was the only one who showed up, and he left halfway through because Lana had a soccer game. Yet both parents attended every single one of Lana's activities, no matter how minor. The disparity in how birthdays and holidays were celebrated was particularly painful. For my 16th birthday, I received a used laptop and a cake from the grocery store. 3 years later, Lana's 16th birthday featured a professional photographer, a custom cake, and a brand new car. Christmas mornings followed the same pattern. Lana would have piles of carefully selected gifts, while mine seemed like afterthoughts. I poured myself into academics, thinking that perhaps achievement would finally win their approval. I graduated as valedictorian of my high school class. During my speech, I thanked my parents for their support, even though they had provided very little. I remember looking out at the audience and seeing them beaming not at me, but at Lana sitting beside them, as if my accomplishments somehow reflected on her. When college acceptance letters came, I received offers from several prestigious universities, including a scholarship to Boston University. My parents' response? A casual, "That's nice," followed immediately by concern about how Lana was struggling with her junior year classes. When I chose BU because of the scholarship, my parents seemed almost relieved they wouldn't have to contribute much to my education. Meanwhile, 2 years later, Lana decided she wanted to attend a small private college with tuition nearly 3 times what BU cost. My parents didn't hesitate, they covered everything for her: tuition, housing, meal plans, even a monthly allowance. For me, they had contributed only $1,000 per semester, telling me that working part-time would build character. After graduating with honors, I landed an entry-level position at a financial firm in Boston. I worked long hours, took additional certifications, and climbed the corporate ladder with determination. By 28, I was managing a team and earning 6 figures. My financial independence gave me freedom, but I still craved my parents' approval in some deep, wounded part of my heart. Family gatherings continued to follow the same dynamics. Thanksgiving dinners featured detailed questions about Lana's life, while my professional achievements received cursory acknowledgments. When I was promoted to senior financial advisor, my mother responded with, "That's nice, honey," before immediately turning to Lana to hear about her new haircut. Through all of this, I maintained contact with my family, always hoping things would change. I called weekly, visited for holidays, and brought thoughtful gifts. I made excuses for their behavior, telling myself they didn't mean to hurt me. Part of me still hoped that someday they would see me, truly see me, and be proud. My best friend Julie was the one who helped me gain perspective on this unhealthy dynamic. Wednesday been friends since college, and she had witnessed enough family interactions to recognize the pattern. During a brunch about 5 years ago, after Id shared yet another story of being overlooked, Julie set down her coffee cup and looked me directly in the eyes. "Marisa, this isn't normal," she said. "The way your parents treat you compared to Lana, it isn't just playing favorites. It's like you're an afterthought in your own family." I remember feeling defensive at first. "They love me," I insisted. "They just show it differently." Julie shook her head. "Do they, though? When was the last time they put you first? When was the last time they chose you over Lana?" I couldn't answer her. And in that silence, I felt the first crack in the wall of denial I'd built around my family's treatment of me. Still, old habits die hard. I continued trying to win their approval, to earn the love that should have been freely given. It would take one final disappointment to finally break the pattern. As my 34th birthday approached, I found myself hoping for a simple celebration with my family. Nothing extravagant, just dinner at Gabriel's, my favorite Italian restaurant in Boston. I made reservations 3 weeks in advance, securing a table for 4 on Friday evening. When I called my parents to invite them, they seemed genuinely pleased. "Of course we'll be there, honey," my mother said. "We wouldn't miss it." My father chimed in from the extension. 34 is a special year. We're looking forward to it." Their enthusiasm gave me a warm feeling. Maybe things were changing. Maybe they were finally seeing me. The week before my birthday, we exchanged texts about the dinner plans. My mother asked what I would be wearing, suggesting we could take some nice photos. My father mentioned he had already looked at the menu online and picked out what he wanted to order. These small gestures filled me with hope. The day before my birthday, I received a text from both of them. "Looking forward to celebrating our amazing daughter tomorrow. See you at 7. I went to bed that night feeling genuinely excited. The next morning, my actual birthday, I woke up feeling reflective. 34 years. I'd accomplished so much professionally. I had good friends, a beautiful apartment, financial security. The only piece that still felt incomplete was my relationship with my family. Perhaps this birthday dinner would be a turning point. At 3 p.m., my phone rang. It was my mother. I answered with a smile, expecting last-minute confirmation details. "Marisa, something has come up," she began, her voice carrying that particular tone I had learned to dread since childhood, the tone that meant Lana needed something. "What do you mean?" I asked, already feeling my stomach tighten. "Well," she continued, "Lana has planned a dinner party tonight. She just called to invite us. Her friend from college is in town, and she wants us all to meet him." I sat down on my couch, feeling suddenly dizzy. "But tonight is my birthday dinner. We've had these plans for weeks." "I know, sweetie, but this was unexpected. You know how Lana gets when her plans don't work out. Besides, you're an adult now. Birthdays aren't that important at your age." Her dismissive words hit me like a physical blow. I could barely breathe as I asked, "So her impromptu dinner with friends is more important than my birthday that we've been planning for weeks?" "There's no need to be dramatic," my mother said, her voice cooling. "It's just dinner. We can reschedule for next weekend. Maybe Lana can join us then too." I felt tears welling up. This was her friend from college, not even someone important, and they were canceling my birthday plans for this? I tried one more time. "Mom, this is really hurtful. I've been looking forward to this." My father got on the phone then. "Marisa, be reasonable. Your sister went to a lot of trouble to prepare this dinner. She's expecting us. We can celebrate your birthday anytime." That was when I realized with complete clarity. There would always be a reason to choose Lana. Always. After hanging up, I sat in my apartment, tears streaming down my face. I called the restaurant to cancel the reservation. The sympathetic hostess didn't charge me the cancellation fee after I explained the situation. Small mercies. That evening, I ate takeout Chinese food alone in my apartment while watching old movies. At 9:30, my phone rang. It was my parents, calling from Lana's dinner party. I could hear laughter and music in the background. "Happy birthday, sweetie. my mother shouted over the noise. We're having such a wonderful time. Lana made her famous lasagna. I heard my sister's voice in the background. Don't eat too much cake, Marisa. You're not getting any younger. More laughter. I ended the call quickly, claiming I had plans with friends, another lie to add to the pile of pretenses that had become my relationship with my family. As I sat in the silence of my apartment afterward, something crystallized within me. This pattern would never change unless I changed my response to it. For 34 years, I had accepted being second choice, hoping that someday it'd be first. It was time to accept the truth. That day would never come. I cried myself to sleep that night, exhausted by disappointment and the weight of 3 decades of similar moments. But when I woke the next morning, something had shifted inside me. If my family wouldn't prioritize my happiness, then I needed to do that for myself. I had a standing appointment with my therapist, Dr. Rebecca, the following Tuesday. When I recounted the birthday incident, she leaned forward in her chair. Marisa, we've talked about setting healthy boundaries before, she said gently. What your parents did was hurtful, and it's part of a pattern we've identified. The question now is, what are you going to do to take care of yourself? That question resonated with me deeply. What would it look like to truly prioritize my own happiness? To invest in myself, the way my parents had always invested in Lana. As a financial advisor, I was always encouraging my clients to make investments that brought both financial security and personal joy. Yet, I had been ignoring my own advice. I had substantial savings that I had been holding onto, without any specific purpose. Perhaps it was time to use those resources for something that would bring me genuine happiness. For years, I'd dreamed of having a place outside the city, somewhere peaceful, with trees and open sky, a sanctuary that was completely mine. That afternoon, I began researching the real estate market in the countryside surrounding Boston. I spent hours online, studying property listings, tax implications, and appreciation potential. This wasn't just an emotional decision. I was approaching it with the same analytical mindset I brought to my professional investments. The following weekend, I viewed 3 properties with a realtor. The first was a small cottage that needed far too much work. The second was in a beautiful location, but situated too close to neighbors. The third had potential, but was located in a flood zone. None of them felt right. After 2 more disappointing weekends of property viewings, I was beginning to feel discouraged. Then I met Stephanie, a realtor who specialized in country properties. Unlike the previous agents I'd worked with, she really listened to what I was looking for. I don't just want to sell you a house, she explained during our first meeting. I want to find you the right home, somewhere that feels like it belongs to you. A week later, Stephanie called with excitement in her voice. I've found something special, she said. It's just been listed. We need to see it today. The property was a 3-bedroom farmhouse situated on 5 acres of land, about an hour outside Boston. As we drove up the tree-lined driveway, I felt a flutter of anticipation. The house itself was white clapboard with black shutters, built in the 1922 but well-maintained. It had a wide front porch with enough room for chairs and a small table. Perfect for morning coffee or evening wine. Inside, the house had hardwood floors throughout, a large country kitchen with outdated but functional appliances, 2 bathrooms that needed updating, and a living room with a stone fireplace. The master bedroom had windows on 3 sides, flooding the space with natural light. 2 smaller bedrooms could serve as a guest room and home office. While the house needed cosmetic updates, the bones were excellent. The roof was only 5 years old, the foundation was solid, and the electrical and plumbing had been updated within the last decade. But what truly captured my heart was the view from the back of the property. Rolling hills stretched toward distant mountains, with a small pond at the bottom of a gentle slope. A wooden deck overlooked the entire scene. Standing there, I felt something I hadn't experienced in a long time. Peace. This is it, I told Stephanie. This is the one. The asking price was within my budget, but Stephanie warned me there were already other interested buyers. We would need to make a competitive offer. Using my financial expertise, I put together an offer that was strong but not overextended, with favorable terms for a quick closing. I included a personal letter to the sellers, explaining why their home meant so much to me. 3 anxious days later, Stephanie called with the news. My offer had been accepted. The sellers had been touched by my letter and chose my offer over a slightly higher one from another buyer. The settlement process moved quickly. I worked with a mortgage broker to secure financing, though I was putting down a substantial down payment from my savings. There were inspections to schedule, paperwork to sign, insurance to arrange. Through it all, I felt a growing sense of excitement and empowerment. I was doing this for me, not to impress anyone else. 6 weeks later, I stood in the empty house with the keys in my hand. My house. I walked slowly through each room, running my hands along the walls, looking out each window, imagining what it would become. In the kitchen, I envisioned new cabinets and countertops. In the master bathroom, I pictured a clawfoot tub beneath the window. Each space held possibilities, and each possibility was entirely mine to explore. Over the next 3 months, I threw myself into renovations. I hired contractors for the major work, but took on some projects myself. The kitchen was gutted and rebuilt with cherry cabinets and granite countertops. The bathrooms were updated with classic fixtures that honored the home's age while providing modern comfort. Every room was painted in colors I had chosen carefully, warm neutrals with occasional bold accents. Each decision, from the kitchen backsplash tile to the light fixtures in the hallway, was an expression of my taste and preferences. For the first time in my life, I wasn't considering anyone else's opinion. I didn't have to wonder if my choices would be judged or dismissed. This home was becoming a physical manifestation of my independence. I documented the transformation with photos, capturing before and after shots of each space. Watching the house evolve gave me a sense of accomplishment, unlike anything it experienced before. This wasn't just about creating a beautiful home. It was about creating a new chapter in my life. When the last contractor packed up their tools and the final piece of furniture was placed, I stood in the center of my living room and turned in a slow circle. The house was finished. More importantly, it was mine, completely, wholly, unapologetically mine. For the first time in my life, I had created something that was just for me, without seeking anyone's approval or permission. The sense of empowerment was intoxicating. Once the renovations were complete, I hired a professional photographer to capture the transformation. The photos were stunning, showcasing not just the physical beauty of the house but the feeling of serenity and joy it conveyed. I hesitated before sharing these photos on social media. Until now, I'd kept the house purchase private, telling only Julie and a few close friends. Part of me was still conditioned to keep my achievements small, to not draw attention away from Lana. But another part of me, the part that was growing stronger every day, wanted to celebrate this accomplishment. After a moment of reflection, I posted a carefully curated selection of photos with the caption, "The best gift for myself. My country sanctuary is finally finished. So grateful for this journey." The positive responses were immediate. Friends and colleagues commented with congratulations and admiration. Several asked for the name of my contractors or interior designer, not realizing I'd done much of the planning myself. It felt good to be acknowledged, to have my achievement recognized. Then my phone pinged with a text from Lana. "When did you get this? Why didn't you tell us?" Before I could respond, my phone rang. It was my mother, her voice tight with something between surprise and accusation. "Marisa, what is this house we're seeing on Facebook? When did this happen? Why would you keep something like this from your family?" I took a deep breath before responding. "I bought it 4 months ago. It's about an hour outside the city. I've been renovating it." 4 months? And you never thought to mention it. Were your parents, Marisa? We should know these things. I chose my words carefully. It was a personal decision, an investment in my future and my happiness. My father got on the extension. Do you have any idea how much money you've wasted? Property taxes? Maintenance costs? What were you thinking? Instead of defending my financial decision, which was completely sound, I simply said, I'm happy with my choice. There was a pause. Then my mother said in a completely different tone, well, it's actually perfect timing. Lana and Mike have been talking about wanting to move somewhere with more space for when they start a family. I felt a chill. I wasn't sure where this was going, but I had a suspicion. My father jumped in. Yes, this could work out well for everyone. Lana needs a house like this much more than you do, Marisa. You're single, living in the city. What do you need all that space for? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Are you suggesting I give my house to Lana? Not give. My mother corrected quickly. Maybe sell it to her at a family discount. Or let them live there, while you continue to pay the mortgage. There are options. Absolutely not, I replied, my voice firmer than I'd ever used with my parents. This is my house. I bought it. I renovated it. It's not available to Lana or anyone else. There's no need to be selfish, my mother snapped. Lana needs this house more than you do. She's planning to start a family. Don't you want your future nieces and nephews to grow up in a beautiful country setting? What I want, I said slowly, is for my decision to be respected. This is my house, purchased with my money. It's not up for discussion. As I hung up the phone, it began ringing again immediately. This time, it was Lana. Oh my God, Marisa, the house is perfect. Mike and I were just saying we want to move out of our apartment. The timing couldn't be better. When can we come see it? It's not for sale, Lana, and it's not available for you to live in. This is my house. There was a pause. Then Lana's voice turned wheedling. Come on, sis. You know I've always wanted a country home. And you're so busy with your career, you'll hardly ever be there. It makes so much more sense for us to have it. Besides, Mike already told his parents we found a house. The audacity was breathtaking. Lana had already told her in-laws they would be getting my house. I could hear the familiar pattern reasserting itself. Lana's wants automatically trumping my needs. But this time, I refused to fall into the old dynamic. That was premature of Mike, I said coolly. You should let them know you're still looking. Lana's tone changed instantly. You always have to make everything difficult. Mom and Dad are right, you are selfish. You don't even want kids. What do you need a big house for? I ended the call without responding, but the assault continued. Over the next few days, I received calls from aunts, uncles, even cousins I rarely spoke with. Each had been enlisted to talk sense into me. Each repeated the same message. Lana needed the house more than I did. I should be more generous. That's what family does for each other. The following Sunday, I reluctantly agreed to attend a family dinner at my parents' house. I should have known it would be an ambush. Lana and Mike were there, along with my parents and my mother's sister, Aunt Patricia. Throughout dinner, the conversation repeatedly turned to my house. Lana talked about where Shed put her furniture. Mike mentioned converting one of the bedrooms into a nursery. My mother suggested color schemes that would be more appropriate for a growing family. I sat in silence, pushing food around my plate, feeling increasingly uncomfortable. When Lana began talking about hosting Christmas in my house, I finally spoke up. I'm not giving you my house, Lana. Not now. Not ever. Please stop discussing it as if it's a possibility. The table fell silent. Then Lana's eyes filled with tears. How can you be so cruel? You know we've been saving for a down payment. This would give us such a head start. Don't you want your nieces and nephews to have a beautiful place to grow up? My father leaned forward. Marisa, be reasonable. Your sister needs this house more than you do. She's going to have a family. What are you going to do with all that space? Rattle around in it alone? Every old wound reopened at once. Once again, I was being asked to sacrifice for Lana. Once again, her needs were deemed more important than mine. Once again, my feelings didn't matter. I set down my fork and stood up. This house is mine. I bought it with my money. I renovated it to my taste. It's not available to Lana or anyone else. I'm leaving now. Please don't contact me about this again. As I walked toward the door, my mother called after me. If you don't help your sister with this, don't expect to be included in the will. We won't support this kind of selfishness. I left without responding, but her threat echoed in my mind as I drove home. Would they really cut me off completely over this? And if they would, what did that say about their love for me? For the first time, I began to wonder if I was being unreasonable. Was I clinging to the house out of spite? Should I give in, as I had so many times before? The morning after the family dinner, I woke up feeling physically ill. My head pounded, my stomach churned, and my chest felt tight. As I prepared for work, selecting a blouse and skirt, my hands began to shake. I dropped my mascara wand, leaving a black streak across my cheek. When I tried to wipe it away, I found I couldn't stop trembling. A wave of dizziness hit me, and I sat down on the edge of my bathtub, trying to steady my breathing. My heart was racing, my vision blurring at the edges. I recognized the symptoms. I was having a panic attack. In 15 years of high-pressure financial work, I'd never missed a day due to stress. But at that moment, I knew I couldn't function. I called my office, speaking to my assistant in a voice I barely recognized as my own. "I'm not feeling well. I need to take a sick day." The concern in her response told me how unusual this was for me. Alone in my apartment, I curled up on my couch, wrapped in a blanket despite the warmth of the day. My phone kept buzzing with messages from my family. I couldn't bring myself to read them. Every notification sent a fresh wave of anxiety through me. Memories from childhood flooded back unbidden. My 8th birthday, when my parents arrived late to my party because Lana had wanted ice cream. My high school graduation, when they left immediately after the ceremony because Lana was bored. My college acceptance letters, met with distraction rather than celebration. A lifetime of being overlooked, set aside, deemed less important. In the afternoon, my parents called again. This time, I answered, hoping that perhaps they had reconsidered their position. "Marisa," my mother began without preamble, "you're being ridiculous about this house situation. We've raised you better than this." I could feel my chest tightening again. "Mom, please try to understand. This house means a lot to me. It's the first thing I've ever done just for myself." "That's the problem," my father interjected. "You've always been so self-centered, always thinking about yourself instead of the family." Their words hit like physical blows. Self-centered? When had I ever put myself first? When had they ever encouraged me to do so? My mother continued, speaking over my silence. "Lana has always been the special one in this family. She needs more support than you do. You've always been so independent, so capable. Why can't you use those qualities to help your sister now?" Special one. The words echoed in my head. Lana has always been the special one. Not both daughters equally loved, but one designated as special. One prioritized. One chosen. Again and again. Before I could respond, my father added, "We've already told Lana she can have the house. We promised her, Marisa. Don't make liars out of us." The finality of those words, the complete dismissal of my agency in decisions about my own property, was staggering. They had promised away something that wasn't theirs to give. In their minds, my possession was merely temporary, something to be redistributed according to their judgment of who deserved it more. "I've got to go," I managed to say before ending the call. I sat in stunned silence afterward, trying to process what had just happened. They had admitted, in plain language, what I'd always suspected. Lana was the special one. I was the afterthought. The backup. The one who could be counted on to sacrifice. An hour later, my doorbell rang. When I checked the peephole, I saw Lana standing in the hallway. I considered not answering, but some combination of habit and curiosity made me open the door. She didn't wait for an invitation, pushing past me into the apartment. "We need to talk about this house situation," she announced, dropping her purse on my coffee table as if she owned the place. "There's nothing to talk about," I said, my voice sounding distant to my own ears. "The house is mine. End of discussion." Lana spun to face me, her expression incredulous. Are you serious right now? After everything this family has done for you? I couldn't help the bitter laugh that escaped. What exactly has this family done for me, Lana? Please, enlighten me. Her eyes narrowed. Oh, here we go with the poor Marisa routine. You've always been jealous of me, always trying to make yourself the victim. I've spent my entire life standing aside for you, I said quietly. Every birthday, every holiday, every family gathering has centered around your wants and needs. I've never complained. I've never demanded equal treatment. But this house is where I draw the line. Lana laughed, a harsh sound without humor. You think you're so perfect, don't you? Miss Successful Financial Advisor. Miss Independent. You know what? The family only puts up with you because of me. I'm the one who insists you be included in things. The cruelty of her words left me speechless. This was my sister, the person I had been taught to prioritize above my own needs since childhood. And she was standing in my home, telling me she was the reason I was tolerated by our family. If you don't give me this house, Lana continued, her voice cold, I'll make sure everyone knows what you're really like. Selfish, cruel, putting your own wants above the needs of your family. No one will take your side, Marisa. No one. She grabbed her purse and walked toward the door, pausing with her hand on the knob. Think about it. You have until the end of the week to make the right decision. After she left, I stood frozen in my living room, her threat ringing in my ears. Could she really turn everyone against me? The evidence suggested yes. Already, extended family members who rarely contacted me were calling to express their disappointment in my selfishness. I spent that night in a state of emotional turmoil, alternating between rage, grief, and a deep, bone-weary exhaustion. My entire identity had been shaped around being the good daughter, the one who accommodated, who never caused trouble. What would happen if I refused to play that role any longer? As dawn broke, I sat on my balcony, watching the city slowly come alive. Something had shifted inside me overnight. A clarity had emerged from the chaos of emotion. For 34 years, I had participated in a dynamic that diminished me. I had allowed myself to be relegated to second place in my own life. No more. The house wasn't just a property. It was a symbol of my worth, my right to prioritize my own happiness. Giving it up would mean conceding that Lana deserved joy more than I did, that her dreams mattered more than mine, that I existed primarily to facilitate her happiness, and that was a lie I could no longer live with. The day after Lana's ultimatum, I had my regular therapy session with Dr. Rebecca. As I recounted the events of the past week, she listened with growing concern. Marisa, this goes beyond normal family dysfunction, she said when I finished speaking. What your family is doing, asking you to give up your property, threatening to disown you, recruiting others to pressure you, this is emotional abuse. Hearing her name it so clearly was both painful and liberating. I had spent so long normalizing their behavior that having it identified as abusive was jarring. What do I do now? I asked. They're my family. I can't just cut them off. Setting boundaries doesn't mean cutting people off, she explained. It means being clear about what you will and won't accept. In this case, being firm that the house is yours and not up for discussion. Over the next hour, we developed a strategy. I would communicate my boundaries clearly and consistently. I would not engage in arguments or justifications. I would limit contact if the pressure continued. And most importantly, I would focus on strengthening the healthy relationships in my life. The next day, I met Julie for lunch. Unlike my family, she was unequivocally supportive. I'm so proud of you for standing your ground, she told me. This house represents something important, your right to prioritize your own happiness. But what if they really do cut me off? I asked, the fear still lingering. Julie reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Then you'll discover what I already know. That family isn't just about blood. It's about who shows up for you, who respects you, who celebrates your joy instead of trying to claim it for themselves. That weekend, I drove to my country house, needing to reconnect with the space that had become the center of so much conflict. As I walked through each room, running my fingers along the countertops I had chosen, looking out windows framed by curtains I'd selected, I felt my resolve strengthening. This was mine. Not just the physical structure, but what it represented. My independence, my choices, my right to build a life that brought me joy. Sunday evening, I sat at the kitchen table I had refinished myself and composed an email to my family. I wrote and rewrote it multiple times, trying to find the right balance between firmness and respect. Finally, I had a version I was satisfied with. Mom, Dad, and Lana, I want to be very clear about my position regarding my house. I purchased this property with my own money. I renovated it according to my own vision. It is my home, and it is not available for Lana to live in or purchase. This is not negotiable. Any further attempts to pressure me will result in me needing to take a step back from our relationship until my boundaries can be respected. I love you all, but I need to be respected as an adult who makes her own decisions about her own property. Marisa. I hit send before I could second-guess myself, then turned off my phone for the night. The next morning, I had multiple voicemails and texts, but I didn't listen to or read any of them. Instead, I drove back to the city and went directly to my office, immersing myself in work. That evening, my parents called. I took a deep breath before answering, centering myself in my newfound resolve. Marisa, my mother began, her voice tight with controlled anger. We received your email. I don't understand why you're being so stubborn about this. It's not stubbornness, Mom. It's my house, my decision, and it's final. If that's how you feel, my father interjected, then you need to understand the consequences. We won't have a daughter who refuses to help her sister. The implicit threat was clear. If I didn't give Lana my house, they would cut me off. In the past, this would have devastated me, sent me scrambling to please them. Now, I felt a strange calm. I'm sorry you feel that way, I said. I hope someday you can understand my position. But either way, my decision stands. After I hung up, I expected to feel devastated. Instead, I felt lighter. The threat that had held power over me for so long, do what we want, or lose our love, had lost its sting. Because I had finally recognized the painful truth. Their love had always been conditional. And conditional love is not really love at all. The next day, I received a call from an unexpected source. Mike, Lana's husband. He sounded embarrassed, almost apologetic. Marisa, I want you to know I never expected your house. I told Lana it was inappropriate to even ask. I'm sorry for how this has played out. His words were a small validation, a confirmation that I wasn't crazy for thinking the whole situation was absurd. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. He sighed. Honestly, Lana's always gotten everything she wanted. Her parents have never said no to her. I think that's why this is hitting her so hard. But that's not your problem to fix. After that call, the pressure campaign took on a new dimension. Lana began posting veiled comments on social media about selfish people who don't support family. My mother called mutual friends to share her concern about my mental state, suggesting I was becoming unstable and difficult. My father told extended family members that I had rejected all their attempts at reconciliation. It was painful, watching this distorted narrative spread. But I remained firm. When my mother's sister, Aunt Patricia, called to express her disappointment in me, I calmly explained my position. To my surprise, she listened. You know, she said after I finished, I always noticed how differently your parents treated you and Lana. I should have said something years ago. I'm sorry I didn't. Her understanding was a tiny crack in the united front my family had presented, and it wasn't the only one. My father's brother, Uncle Robert, sent me a private message expressing his support. A cousin I had always been close to as a child reached out to reconnect, deliberately avoiding any mention of the conflict. Small gestures, but significant ones. As weeks turned into months, I discovered that standing firm became easier with practice. When my mother sent a text about Lana being devastated by my continued refusal, I simply responded, "I'm sorry, she's upset. My decision hasn't changed." When my father called to suggest a compromise where Lana could rent the house from me at a nominal fee, I declined politely but firmly. Each time, the conversation ended more quickly. Each time, I felt less guilt afterward. Meanwhile, I focused on building the life I wanted. I invited friends to my country house for weekend gatherings. I joined a local gardening club, learning to tend the flower beds that bordered my front porch. I adopted a dog, a gentle golden retriever named Max, who became my constant companion. I expanded my friend circle, connecting with people who accepted me as I was, without conditions or expectations. At work, freed from the emotional drain of trying to win my family's approval, I found new energy and focus. I was promoted to a leadership position, overseeing a team of advisors. Colleagues commented on my increased confidence, my more decisive management style. When Thanksgiving approached, I received a terse invitation from my mother. I declined, choosing instead to host a Friendsgiving at my country house. Julie came, along with several other close friends, and even a couple of sympathetic relatives who had broken ranks with the family party line. Cooking together in my renovated kitchen, laughing around my dining room table, I realized I had created something beautiful, a chosen family based on mutual respect and genuine care. Christmas brought another family invitation, coupled with a hint that perhaps it was time to put the house issue behind us. Reading between the lines, I understood they had finally accepted I wouldn't be giving Lana my house. But they expected me to return to the fold as if nothing had happened, without acknowledgement of how deeply they'd hurt me. I sent a polite decline, along with gift cards for everyone. I wasn't ready to pretend everything was normal. Perhaps someday we would find a new normal, one where I was treated with the same respect and consideration as Lana, but that day hadn't arrived yet. Instead, I spent Christmas morning sitting by the fireplace in my country house, Max curled at my feet, watching snow fall gently outside the windows. I felt a peace I'd never known before. The ache of my family's conditional love was still there, but it no longer defined me. I had built something stronger, self-respect, and a life that reflected my own values rather than their expectations. 6 months after the confrontation over my house, I sat on my back deck, watching the sunset paint the distant mountains in shades of gold and purple. So much had changed, both in my circumstances and within myself. The most visible change was physical. The constant stress of trying to please my family had taken a toll I'd never fully recognized. Now, with that burden lifted, I slept better. The tension headaches that had been my constant companions disappeared. Friends commented on how I looked younger, more relaxed, more present. At work, my performance reached new heights. Freed from the emotional drain of family drama, I channeled my energy into creative strategies for my clients and mentorship for my team. I was nominated for a leadership award within my firm, recognition that would have once sent me rushing to my parents for validation. Now, I celebrated quietly with friends who genuinely rejoiced in my success. My country house had truly become a sanctuary. I'd finished the last room the previous month, converting the third bedroom into a library with built-in bookshelves and a window seat overlooking the pond. Each corner of the property now reflected my tastes, my preferences, my vision. I no longer questioned my choices or wondered if they would meet with approval. This was my space, created entirely for my joy. On my 35th birthday, exactly 1 year after the canceled dinner that had been the catalyst for so much change, I hosted a celebration at my country house. Julie organized everything, inviting friends who had supported me through the difficult months of family estrangement. We grilled on the back deck, ate dinner at the long farmhouse table. I'd refinished myself, and toasted to new beginnings under a sky full of stars. It was during this celebration that my phone rang with an unexpected caller, my father. I stepped away from the group to answer. "Happy birthday, Marisa," he said, his voice hesitant in a way I'd never heard before. "Thank you, Dad," I replied, waiting to see where this would go. He cleared his throat. I wanted to tell you I've been thinking a lot about everything that's happened. The way we pressured you about the house, it wasn't right. It was the closest thing to an apology I'd ever received from him. Not quite an admission of the deeper pattern of favoritism, but an acknowledgement of this specific wrong. I appreciate you saying that, I said carefully. Your mother and we didn't handle things well. There was a pause. We miss you, Marisa. I miss you too, I admitted, surprised to find it was true despite everything. But things need to be different going forward. I need to be treated with the same respect you give Lana. Another pause. Longer this time. I understand, he said finally. Can we start with a lunch next week? Just you and me? It was a small step, but a significant one. It agreed to that lunch, and several others in the months that followed. My relationship with my parents was slowly rebuilding, not as it had been with me constantly seeking approval, but as something new, more distant perhaps, but also more honest. My relationship with Lana remained strained. She had eventually bought a house in the suburbs with Mike's help, but occasionally still made pointed comments about my country house. I limited my contact with her, engaging primarily at family events I now attended selectively and with clear boundaries in place. The most profound change, however, was internal. I had learned to value myself, to trust my own judgment, to prioritize my needs without guilt. The house had been the catalyst, but the transformation went far deeper. I was no longer the person who accommodated everyone else at the expense of her own happiness. I was no longer defined by my role as the other daughter, the one who wasn't special. As I renovated the final room in my house, I realized I was simultaneously rebuilding myself from the foundation up. Each choice I made reinforced my autonomy, my right to create a life that reflected my values rather than someone else's expectations. I learned that self-worth isn't something others can bestow upon you. It comes from honoring your own needs, from setting boundaries, from refusing to accept conditional love as a substitute for genuine respect. I learned that sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is step back from toxic dynamics, even when they come from people who are supposed to love you unconditionally. Perhaps most importantly, I learned that family isn't defined solely by blood. It's defined by who shows up for you, who celebrates your joy without trying to diminish it, who sees you for who you are rather than who they want you to be. My chosen family, the friends who had stood by me through the darkest moments, had shown me what genuine love looks like. The final celebration in my house that year was a small gathering to mark the anniversary of my purchase. As we raised our glasses in a toast, I looked around at the faces of the people who had helped me find my strength. Julie, who had never doubted my right to stand firm. Dr. Rebecca, whose guidance had helped me navigate the difficult emotional terrain. Stephanie, who had found me the perfect house, and others who had entered my life as I opened myself to new connections. This house represents more than property, I told them. It represents my decision to value myself, to build a life that's truly mine. Thank you all for being part of that journey. Later, as the evening wound down and guests departed, I stood alone on my front porch, looking up at the star-filled sky. The journey hadn't been easy. There had been moments of doubt, of grief, of loneliness, but I wouldn't trade this hard-won peace for the false harmony of my former life. My answer to my parents' demand that I give my house to Lana had been simple, for number, but the message behind that refusal was much more profound. I matter too. My dreams matter too. My happiness matters too. And that truth, once embraced, had changed everything. Have you ever had to stand up to family expectations to protect something important to you? Share your story in the comments below. If this resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to hear more stories about finding strength through difficult family dynamics. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and remember, sometimes the most powerful gift you can give yourself is permission to put your own happiness first.